Rugby is taking place today. Let's take a look at what SABC News sports anchor Xoli Zondo has for us. She's currently watching the match with fans out in Randburg. So, Xoli, good to have you with us. How's the fun there among the fans watching the spectacle this afternoon?
Well, Alicia, a very good afternoon to you. Indeed, the crowd that is here is awaiting celebrations because as it stands, the second half of this rugby championship decider has gotten underway in Twickenham, London. For the Springboks, they are trying to make history, winning this title back to back for the very first time in their history. But as it stands, they are trailing Argentina by 3 points. And remember, the pressure is on them to win this encounter. This after the All Blacks, of course, defeated the Wallabies earlier on. But of course, I'm not alone. I do have with me Xoli. He is the SABC News senior sport journalist to unpack the rugby action that has been taking place this entire day. I mean, Thando, we speak about the earlier encounter which took place at Perth with the All Blacks with that convincing victory against the Wallabies. What did you make of that performance, and what then are the permutations of this encounter?
Look, it was a good victory for the All Blacks. Unfortunately, they did not win by the margin that they needed to put real pressure on the Springboks. So again, to get that victory away from home, no team in this tournament has won 2 matches in a row, which is a very good stat for the All Blacks. Again, another important victory for Scott Robinson, who earlier this week is under pressure because Jamie Joseph was basically named as the All Blacks coach, which is like the second team of the national team in New Zealand, almost ordaining him as if Scott Robinson doesn't win the next World Cup, Jamie Joseph becomes the next coach. So that's the kind of pressure that no national team coach wants. But that, again, settled result for the All Blacks. And again, it would have been a good victory away from home. But going back to our campaign, we didn't start off well against Australia at Ellis Park. But we've come back into this tournament, we've clawed our way back into a position whereby we can control our own destiny. That is important for me, and that is important for Rassie, because he's tried a couple of players like Sasha Mgomezulu who have shown that they've Kenan Moody, Sasha Mgomezulu, those guys have shown that they belong at the stage. And again, that's all you want when you give a guy an opportunity for him to show the class that he's got.
Now, of course, in terms of this rugby championship, last week we hosted it in Durban, but we see this home match for Argentina is actually being played in London and not in South America. What are the reasons behind that?
Couple of reasons for that. It's mostly commercial. There's no rugby stadium that could host, that can match Twickenham in terms of capacity. Capacity at Twickenham is 80,000. No rugby stadium in Argentina has got that kind of capacity. There are soccer stadiums, but not rugby stadiums. So that's the first problem. The second thing is when the pound rate. That's another thing, because every rugby union, whether it's England, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, everyone is looking to find as much money as possible. So this was basically a commercial reason. We've done it in the past. New Zealand have done it in the past. Argentina's now doing it. Purely for commercial reasons, you get a lot more. It favors us in the end of the day because there are a lot more South Africans at this match than we would have had in Argentina.
Now, I can tell you that everyone is joyous at the moment. Malcolm Marx has found the second try of this encounter. Of course, the first one in the first half, it was Kobus Reina who really came through with the medal. So it means, as it stands at the moment, now the Springboks are in the lead. The Pumas are going to try and catch up. Before we talk about this very exciting encounter, the big question here and the big talking point has always been about player welfare, especially with the United Rugby Championship that is currently underway, some of the players not being able to play for their franchises. What has been this contentious issue?
So at the moment, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, England, the top nations, have basically been managing the workload of their top players to give them longevity. A guy like Siya Kolisi, for example, can't play every game for the Sharks and the Springboks. He simply won't cope. So World Rugby has said this is a good idea. It helps everyone because the professional scene is so demanding on players. I might play for Argentina, but my club rugby is in France. So the workload almost is the same as a Siya Kolisi or an Elvin Etzebeth. So World Rugby has come to the party. For example, we used almost 50 players for the Springboks last year alone. New Zealand Rugby have used 49 players this year alone. So again, the workload has to be shared. It's not just about opportunity, it's also about making sure that the body lasts as long as they can.
All right, so as it stands, it is the Springboks that are leading 15 points to 13 against Argentina. 2 tries there, Kobus Reinach, Malcolm Marx, and of course, we are now in the lead, but we didn't start off as well. What have you made of, especially the first maybe 45 minutes of play in Twickenham?
Yes, we didn't have the best of starts, but we've shown both when we retain the ball over a number of phases that we are a very big threat. We've also shown that in the scrums we're very dominant. Our line-out is solid.
All right, we're going to leave it there with SABC News sports anchor there, Xoli Zondo, alongside SABC News sports reporter there, Thando Mqoli. And of course, they are currently watching that SA versus Argentina match at a fan park out in Randburg, where South Africa is currently leading Argentina 15-13.